Morning, Joseph.
Kelvin, just going into Wednesday's game, just wanted to get your thoughts on your relationship with Greg Campy and the longevity he's had over there and the milestone. I believe he hit 700 at some point last season. But just just a coach of that nature and the longevity and tenure that he's had in college basketball.
Yeah, um, Greg is great for the game. He always has been. He stood up for um, issues that were really important in coaching, um, and for this profession and for this game, um, for a long time. He's always he's never been afraid to let his voice be heard on things that he was passionate about. Um, One of the things I've always appreciated and respected about him is the job he's done for raising money for Coaches versus Cancer. If you were to Google his name and look at the things that he's accomplished in that area, just awesome. He's been a great role model for a lot of coaches to come up with ideas. I know Mark Few does an awesome job out in Spokane. Um, Jim Boeheim's done an awesome job at Syracuse, but so has Greg and many others. Um, so the way the game came about is Greg called me uh, last probably it was during the season, conference season maybe, but I know he's got family. I think he has a son that lives here in Houston, and he asked me what I thought about a game. I said, absolutely. It'd be good for us because Greg's team's always good. Um, he coaches his way. He's got a way of doing things that appeals to kids. They run great offense. They're very um, versatile on defense. They line up in different looks, um, try to confuse you with the top of the zone that they run. Sometimes it's a two guard front, sometimes a one, sometimes a three. And then you have to be smart enough to know what to get into and then attack it. And then the time honored um, requisite of being a good offensive team is if the ball goes in, that adds points to the scoreboard.
Kelvin, I remember in the past you've had players that if they, especially if they're seniors, if they live in a particular hometown that you can get a game, you've done it. Is that sort of common in coaching profession where, if a coach has a request and you can make it happen, you're more, it's more than able to do, especially in non-conference or only in non-conference, really.
Yeah, um, that's that's always been common, you know. Um, we signed the thing with Vegas with the Players Era tournament. That's one of the things that we told Milos about. I think Milos was going to come anyway, but we talked about that would be in it. That's his hometown. His parents live in Las Vegas. Um, but over the years, we've set up games to take kids, maybe not home, but close enough that their family can come see them play. And that's always been important to coaches that have the flexibility to be able to do it. Now, when you're in one of these Power Four conferences, now the conference is so spread out. Usually, one of the conference games is going to be close to where you're from, as we play everywhere from Boulder, Colorado to Orlando, Florida, and all the points in between.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll go to Ryan Monso from GoCougs.com. Ryan, please go ahead, sir.
Coach Oakland runs this zone, and Towson played a ton of man-to-man. So, how important is it to play different styles of defense with this team in the preseason?
Yeah, I think all the experiences that we get where we're seeing something that we don't practice, like We know Auburn's going to press us. Well, we don't press. So we you're preparing for that for, 2 practices. Um, we don't zone. We haven't played anybody that does zone. That includes Ole Miss or Mississippi State or the first 2 games. So this will be our first time seeing a zone against a team that's the only thing that they run, which means that um, they're good at it. Just like the only thing we run is man to man. I'd like to think we're pretty good at it, but they feel the same way about their zone. So all these experiences, I think, for our team are necessary and really important. So we can see things and then adjust to it, watch film and say, okay, like Baylor uh, ran a lot of zone against us, and we were very successful in it. Um, Number one is we had 2 guys that were hard to zone. And that was not because they were good shooters, because they knew how to get to an open area and knew where the pass was going to go after they caught it in Jamal and Jaywan. Now you're dealing with these freshmen that they're going to see things and, you know, um, but they're just investments. I was thinking about, I've noticed about these guys. One of the thing I love most about them is they're so coachable. You know, they try so hard, and um, playing against the zone. We were working on some of that yesterday. We'll continue today and then tomorrow in the shoot around. Um, you know, they're all good players, and they're much better players than they've shown. It's just that, a lot of these, like what's the kid, Peterson from Kansas, Koa. Those guys are all first or second options on their team, so of course their numbers are going to look different. These kids aren't first or second options. Um, but being able to get all these different experiences for them is just investments in the bank. I think all these things will help them moving forward.
We'll go to Greg Bailey with KTRK TV. Greg, please go ahead.
Good morning, Kelvin. Just
Morning, Greg.
checking in on Jojo Tugler, his remarkable impact on games. What are some of the ways that may not be obvious to us or average fans that he has a tremendous impact on almost every possession you play?
Well, most teams set ball screens with their 5 man. So JoJo's going to be involved at the point of attack in the pick and roll. And we try to get 2 on the ball and load our help behind it. And then we try to, we don't really rotate. We do what we call stunt and recover. Um, and the premise of our defense is we stop the ball with help, but we stunt most of the passes. But JoJo's involved in pick and rolls. Most teams either start with a pick and roll, or if another action breaks down, then their flow action, or what they flow into once the play breaks down, is some kind of pick and roll. But the reason most teams start with a 5 is you usually don't switch that position. If you say it with a 1, 2, 3, or 4, most teams switch 1 through 4. Now, we don't always do that because we've always had a 4 man that could play the kind of defense we wanted, whether it was Fabian or Juan or Justin, Devin, Devontae. We've got a lot of really, really good 4s that we didn't have to switch. And then when we needed to, we could. But JoJo leaves his man to go look for to block shots. So that's on drives, he impacts the game. Pick and roll, he impacts the game. And then passes, he's like a what do you call that thing that catches flies? You just sit there, and next thing you know, boom, he reached out and grabbed a fly. What's the name for that? Isn't there a name for that? Can't remember.
Venus
Uh,
flytrap.
yeah, Ben, he's a little bit like JoJo Flytrap. He catches a lot of flies on balls that are thrown that you don't think he can get to, but because of his length and wingspan, may not catch it, but he can deflect it. He's usually around nine or 10 on deflections, and then offensive rebounds when we shoot and miss. He's usually around 8 or 9 on how many balls he tips to keep it alive. So maybe we can uh, get some second chance points. So no, he impacts the game in a lot of ways, Greg.
Hey, Coach, I'm sorry, just real quick. Those numbers you're giving are those per game? Is he getting 9 per game? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what the average is,
I got
but
you.
he had 9 tips the other night, and he's had games where he's had 10 deflections. I could have our Rio or somebody could pull it up, but it's hard to average that. It's hard to average a certain number every single game because of the style the team plays. You know, some teams only shoot threes. If they do that, they're just not going to block any shots. So that's why you can't look at averages and think that that's reality. So, but if the team wants to attack the rim and put pressure on the rim, JoJo's going to block a lot of shots. If they only shoot threes, he's not going to block any shots. Unless we're in a trap. And then we're in a trap, he's going to get some steals. So we try to get him as involved in our defense as we can. He's special.
Kelvin, thanks.
Thank you, Greg. We'll go to Chris Baldwin, please, from Paper City, Houston. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, Kelvin.
Chris.
Hey, Kelvin was saying yesterday that when almost as soon as Chris got here, you sat down with him and told him he could be elite at rebounding early. How important is, to sort of set that tone, and what did you see in him instincts wise that makes him good at that?
Yeah, freshmen need an injection of confidence, so they have to have something they can be good at, so they can build to something else. Um, and like Rob Gray was a natural shot maker. He could make a three. He could make a in-between shot. He had a floater. He was a crafty, clever layup shooter. He was just born with that. I certainly didn't teach him, but I recruited it. I saw him do that. I said, I like that kid. Chris is not a natural shot maker, you know. So we were going to start with that. That's part of the evaluation. What is he good at coming in? He can make a shot, but he's not as consistent as some of the guards we've had. Like J1. J1 didn't have a lot of shots he could make, but he could make the ones that he shot. So shot selection, understanding what you can and can't do, that's all part of the process. But I knew that rebounding is something that defines toughness. Guys average 1 rebound a game, there's a reason why. Guys that average 10 or 11, there's a reason why. Chris's toughness is getting better. And I knew for him, that's why he chose this program, because he knew he had to get better in that area. And he has. I've been real proud of Chris's progress. The other stuff will come as he goes. But he's got one thing that he can hang his hat on right now. And if you have that one thing, that'll give you confidence to go get something else. So that's where that came from.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go back to Ryan Monso, please. Ryan, go ahead.
Kelvin, what kind of problem does this Oakland offense present to you?
It's their 3-point shooting, the randomness of it. They may get an offensive rebound, dribble out and shoot a three. They're going to look for threes in transition. Their spacing is great. Most teams that shoot a lot of threes really practice spacing. When I say space, that means corner, corner, slot, slot. So one guy can't guard two. If you have bad spacing, then one guy can guard two because you're too close. When you spread them out, that's why when I talk about our spacing, this team doesn't have a sample size to determine anything yet. But last year's team, the reason we LJ and Emmanuel and Milos was open a lot just for passes by going inside and out is because we always had great spacing and we made sure the floor was spread. So if somebody's in between two guys, he runs it one, we can throw it to the next. He's going to be wide open, but spacing. Greg's teams are really good at that. But most three-point shooting teams have great spacing. That's how they get them off. Teams that struggle offensively sometimes because you're not spaced out or have your little soldiers in the right spot so you can get a shot. But the three-point shooting, that's kind of they're really good at that. They're good shooters.
We'll go back. We'll go to Joseph Duarte, please. Joseph, go ahead.
Kelvin, how's Isaiah doing, and also Cordell?
Cordell got an MRI yesterday. Um, Came back with what we thought. He's just got some little cartilage stuff. It's nothing major. Doesn't require surgery. Um, he hasn't practiced. He didn't practice 2 days prior to Towson, and yesterday was our first day back. Sunday was a scheduled mandatory day off. Um, Isaiah did practice yesterday, so we expect him to play uh, Wednesday. But you know, guys like Isaiah, and that's why it's one of the reasons that gives me encouragement about this team because we're not playing anywhere close to how good I think we can be because we have so many kids that uh, haven't hit their stride yet. Um, Isaiah's a good player. He's a talented kid. You know, he's not going to jump off the page at you. He's just going to wear you down with his consistency, but he's not to that point yet. So a lot of it is comfortability, confidence, having uh, the enough flow that like yesterday we were in transition and he passed up a transition three and I blew the whistle. I said, son, you see that scoreboard up there? It doesn't keep track of your offense. It keeps track of the points. We can run the greatest offense ever. If the ball don't go in, it don't count. Shoot that ball. You're a good shooter. Good shooters should shoot shots when they're open. Shouldn't pass it. I don't care if it's in transition, a dagger, kickouts, whatever. You're too good a shooter. Shoot it. So, and that's, but you know, freshmen are going to go through that. You know, Kingston, Chris, Isaiah, their basketball they got so much room to grow. Not in the future. I'm talking about just this next month, next 2 months. They're not even scratching their surface yet, and we're kind of sometimes you're a little bit of a neutral until they catch up. You know, last year we just had to wait on one guy, and he was in his third year of college. So that team was, you know, lots made of being 4-3, but that team could easily been 7-0. Um, the biggest factor, the 4-3 to me was Javier's 19 days he missed with his groin. Terrence playing his first or second game back from a Achilles tendon surgery. And then Milo's missed 21 days with no surgery. So that wasn't a surprise. But had we been completely healthy from the start, I think we'd have won all three of those games. Now this year is different in that the injury, knock on wood, we haven't had much of a problem with that. But it's just inexperience and the consistency. You know, young teams are going to have flashes, and then they're going to look like they just met each other on a dating show. And then they're going to have another good flash. And uh, so what we're looking for is to make the good moments last longer. and eliminate or close down something. You're always going to have bad stretches with freshmen. You just have to live through them. But just the consistency of it. How can we go 10 straight possessions where there's not a defensive breakdown, that the ball moves and finds the right guy, that we finish when we can? The biggest issue we're having now is just knocking down open threes, and that's the offense. So there's nothing wrong with the offense. It's the making the shots. I was looking at I think the score in Purdue and Oakland was 35-35, but each team could have had 50. They just missed a bunch of shots. Now, the second half, the balls that didn't go in went in. Didn't change the offense. They just made the open shots. And this is sometimes we want to overcomplicate a very simple game. Just keep in mind, basketball is a simple game. Simple game. So, but as long as we're getting good shots, I'm pleased with that. But I think as we go along and we get more comfortability and confidence with each other and trust each other a little more, I think we'll get better at that.
Got time for a couple more questions. We'll go back to Chris Baldwin, please. Go ahead, Chris.
Kelvin, Lenny Wilkins passed away. Did you cross paths with him during your coaching career, or did you watch his, Sonics teams when you were a young coach?
Both. So I coached I was the head coach for three different USA teams. I coached my first assignment, I was selected to coach the West team in the U.S. Olympic Festival. The Olympic Village for the Olympic Festival that year was at Incarnate Word College in San Antonio. Then my next assignment was the 19 and under World Championship team in Athens, Greece. And then my next assignment was it's a World Championship qualifying team. That team won the gold medal because of Chris Paul, Sean May, Adam Morrison, Villanueva, Scott Padgett. We had a really good team. But the reason I bring that up is at the Final Fours, USA Basketball always did a very, very good thing. They'd bring all the USA team coaches, and you'd have, I guess it would be a social or reception. And I remember standing, having a drink with Coach Wilkins, and just always admired him. I didn't see him at Syracuse, but I did see him when he was in the NBA. Of course, back then games were only on Sundays. But he was left-handed, point guard, leader, respected. And that's a word that you hear a lot, but if you really, really focus on what that means, like Dr. J is a well-respected human being, not just as a basketball player. Lenny Wilkins would be the valedictorian of any class that focused on class, bringing people together, treating people with the respect, which in turn made everybody respect him. So he's revered. We lost a giant. I paused when I heard that because it took me back to he and I standing. I don't remember what Final Four it was. I remember Chuck Daly was there. He came over and talked with us for a while. So that's one of the neat things about having been a head coach in USA Basketball over the years is you get to meet and get to know some great people. And I was blessed to have got to meet and talk with Coach Wilkins. He's a giant man.
Thank you, Chris. We got time for two more questions, and then, Coach, I'll ask you to stick around and talk to the TV for just a minute. First question will go to Alejandro Compion from the Cougar, please. Go ahead, Alejandro.
Good morning, Kelvin. A
Good
few
morning,
weeks ago,
Alejandro.
Good morning. A few weeks ago, I spoke with Cedric, and he was saying how after Jacob McFarland's most recent surgery, he kind of took him under his wing and he was helping motivate him and keep his spirits high. How have you seen him grow as a leader, throughout his time here?
Said,
Yes.
yeah. That said being said, Alejandro, said is a amazing, amazing person. His positivity, his work ethic. I'm trying to remember where we were, but when I got on the bus, I think it was last year, we're coming back. After the game, we went to went through the back, got on the bus, headed to the plane. And I've seen him do this 2 or 3 times. He's always on the phone. So I asked him one time, "Who do you call after the game?" He said, "My mother." Um, he said sometimes she gets to watch the games in the Ivory Coast in Africa. Um, so I've always respected him about that because that's something I've always encouraged our kids to do, is call their mothers. And I know you guys get tired of me repeating stuff, but I always say call them because you can. So Sid calls his mother. Um, I don't know if he does it after every game, but I've noticed him doing it several times. Um, Everybody on this team loves Sid. He's a ray of sunshine for our program. Um, he's gotten better. He continues to get better. Um, his defense is way, excuse me, his defense is way ahead of his offense. But he shows up every day with the right attitude, and in a lot of ways, that is leadership. You're influencing someone through your uh, work ethic, your attitude, the way you come in every day and encourage um, and this team is not as tight knit now today as it's going to be. Um, but one of the reasons why this team will eventually be tight knit is because of said he's a great bridge. He bridges the returners with the new guys because everybody loves him.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Alejandro. Last question. We'll go back to Joseph Duarte, please. Joseph, go ahead.
But I got a non-basketball question for you here, and this one may actually be better for Madam Board of Trustee. But are you aware of what's going on at your alma mater in football? They're ranked for the first time in almost a decade, and I don't believe they were playing football when you were there. Correct?
No, I was on the committee with Dwight Clark. Remember the catch that he
Yep.
made? Well, he's from right down the road. I think he went to college at Clemson, which isn't um, that far from where we were from. Um, but he was part of the initial committee too. Um, that's just awesome, man. Montana Tech too. I follow Montana Tech's football, and they were undefeated. UNC Pembroke, they won Saturday, right?
Yes, and now they're 25th in the nation.
Yeah, and Montana Tech's been ranked in NAIA. Pembroke's been ranked in Division Two. Let me tell you something. The chancellor, Dr. Robin Cummings, and the athletic director, Dick Christie. Those guys are those guys are just amazing at what they do. When I went to school there, it had about 3,000 students. Now it's over 8,000 students. Um, Karen's back at her fall board meetings now. Um, she'll meet us at Auburn on Sunday, but she sent me a bunch of drone pictures of the university, and I just sit there and I shake my head because that's where my father went to college too in the early 50s. And I just say, is that the same place that we went to school? But you just get a rush of pride. Um, it's no surprise they got an outstanding basketball coach. They win their league just about every year and get to the NCAA tournament in Division Two. Now they got football going. Baseball's always been good. Track and field's always been good at UNC. But they got a chancellor in Dr. Cummings that 100% in. I mean, he is, as Kelly likes to say, 10 toes in. And um, Dick Christie, the AD, they went out and hired the right coaches. And that's the key. You got to get the right coach. I don't care about your program or what is, and that's what he did. He went out and got the right basketball coach. He went out and got the right football coach, and Karen said that the town had a lot of buzz in it, and that's awesome. That when you can get your local community supporting university, because that's one of the neat things about living in a small town. You don't have pro sports as a competitor, or you're fighting for your niche, or you're fighting for your spot. That's all Pembroke has is a university. And it doesn't matter whether it's NAIA or Division II, Division I, doesn't matter. They got a great chancellor, a great AD, outstanding coaches. So couldn't be more proud. I'm glad you said that, Joseph. I've got to get his number. I've got to give the football coach a call and tell him and tell him that us alumni are proud of him.